Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Dishyaltica Vision Thursday Night Hangout.
Do you know why I'm excited tonight, sir?
Because it's Thursday night?
And I tested negative for COVID, so I'm not going to die.
Ah, congratulations to Zealeus.
Well, at least right now. I mean, I could in 5 minutes when I finish this drink. Who knows?
Ah, hold your applause for Zealeus. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host. I have, of course, am your host, Charlie, and I'm joined once again by the prolific counter himself, Zealeus.
Greetings, beautiful people. I mean, I can't actually see you, but I imagine that each and every one of you are beautiful in your own special way, except for the man in the red hat.
Thanks, Zealeus. That's give me the warm fuzzies. Ladies and gentlemen, this, of course, is the Thursday Night Hangout. It's a weekly show where we try our best to cover the topics that are most important to you with you during the show. If you haven't submitted a topic, question, etc., have no fear. You can, of course, drop it into the chat during the show, and we will try to get to it. If, by some unfortunate twist of fate, we do not get to your topic this week, we will put it in the topic list for next week. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into it. The first topic is actually, I want to take a second and just say, I am happy that we all have survived. Thank you. For anyone out there who has lived,
I'm so confused.
For anyone out there who does live in the great U.S. of A., I think you know where I'm coming from.
Okay, it took me a minute there, and even outside of the United States might actually be sighing a sigh of relief right now. Let's be honest.
It might just be gasping for air because they've been laughing their asses off. That too.
Some people outside laughed, and some people inside just cried for the last 4 years.
I think that was most Americans were inside crying.
Sadly, not enough.
Well, enough this time.
True.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's actually get into the show. The first topic is one that was brought up right at the end of the show, our last show, so let's hit that one first. And the question is, so now that we, Zealeus, myself, and basically all gamers out there who've grown up gaming are at the stage in our life that we are, do we still have that capacity and time to replay a remastered edition of a game from the past? So like we talked about Mass Effect Legendary coming out. Do we actually have the strength, the energy to actually play through the entire thing? Or is it going to be one of those instances of you buy the game and maybe you get around to it, but it turns out that you buy it just for nostalgia's sake and it may just collect dust?
I think when you ask that question, I'm thinking of games I've played. So the first one that kind of came to mind when I was thinking about it was the Mass Effect trilogy.
Right.
Because coming out Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I look at it is, I mean, it hasn't been that long since I played it. And let's be honest, the graphics on the Xbox 360 weren't that bad. I mean, it's not like we're talking like NES era graphics or it's a huge overhaul. So for me, I mean, I might do it, but it's not something where like, oh yes, I have to go do this for a replay. Another game that came to mind, but another one I'm looking at. So I finally did get a PS5, but a game that I played back in the PS2 was Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
And that is a game that's been we're talking 20 years since I played that.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to me the point where like, okay, it's been long enough now where replaying that is a whole different experience to me. So I think part of it's the longevity, like and that was also a PS2 game. So you're talking a pretty big graphics difference now. So I think you're talking one, and let's be honest, they have a lot to do with each other, is how old is the game, which usually involves then what era of your gaming are you from? And I guess I look at, Mass Effect is a series I wouldn't mind replaying again, but just the graphics increase between the 360 and the current gen console. I mean, yes, it's going to be graphically better, obviously, but I don't know if that alone is going to be what forces to be like, oh, I have to replay this.
I can understand that. I personally, I think I'm basically in the same boat. it would have to be a game that absolutely would blow my mind. I would, but then again, if it's that good of a game, I've already played it, so I don't know how invested I would be at the end of the day. Um, it's just.
I think part of its time. I mean, think of like the Mass Effect trilogy. I mean, you're talking over 100 hours easy for all 3 games.
Absolutely.
Easily. And so it's, I'm playing right now through Nier. I'm totally going to butcher this. Nier Automata.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking, dozens of hours for that game.
Right.
And that's a lot of those RPGs. You're talking lots of time. And I think something you also kind of have now that we didn't have growing up when you could sink hundreds of hours into a JRPG was all the streaming, right? Like you could you would sit and you knew Fox had The Simpsons at 8:00, right? Outside of that, though, there might not be anything on TV. Whereas now, at any time, you actually now have a different choice to make in terms of that entertainment of a console game or PC game versus on-demand video entertainment like through Netflix or Disney Plus now or any of that stuff. And I think that really grabs that kind of TV entertainment time much more than when we were growing up.
So, to be honest with you, I think that RPGs, as much as I would love to say, I'll come back and I'll play all of Mass Effect, I think in actuality, when I think about what genre I would probably most likely to actually play a remastered of, it's going to be, something that's, I don't want to say simple, but something a little bit less complex than an RPG. The immediate one that comes to mind is when you see like the remastered Super Mario Brothers games. That I would, most of them, hell, I'll jump right back in and give it a whirl because, yeah, it takes it definitely had some link to it. It's not like you could sit down. Well, you technically probably could sit down in one sitting and play it all the way through, but with our advanced age, it probably hurt our asses. But it's one of those that you can devote time to, basically regain the skills of learning when to jump or when to do all the timing and stuff. It's a little bit less complex than remembering all the little nuances and extra buttons and all that stuff like an RPG has. Like the crafting system or the leveling up and all that stuff. Mario at its core, leveling up is get a mushroom or grab a fire flower, or in I guess others later iterations you got the raccoon tail, all that, so, but it was like simple. I hate to say it's simple because there's definitely complexity to Mario Brothers, but it's not like I have to do a complete deep dive to
I know what you mean. I think you're right. You can definitely find complexity in Mario Brothers, but what is that term? There's a very low floor there's a very low skill floor. Like anybody can press A and jump and press B to do the fireball, right?
Right.
But to be able to jump and fireball at the exact right time, not just to beat the level, but to get that extra 100th coin. So you have so I think that's the big difference is you have a very low skill level and still beat Mario Brothers, but to really get that extra oomph, that's where you really have to invest a lot of time into it. So I think that low skill floor, but it has a high skill ceiling if you want to invest the time and oomph into it.
Absolutely. So it's basically, it's got a low entry bar. Anyone who can push a button can at least attempt to play the game. You don't have
how many instructions did Mario Brothers have?
The original, nothing. Yeah. Just hit start.
Which I love. I think that's just, I still love that fact that there's no instructions. You just move and go.
Agreed. And you're right. It's at its simplest, all you got to do is learn to push the button to jump and then know when to push it. Then, of course, there's a bunch of other layers to it. There's secret areas. There's, try to collect as many coins. Ways to, strategies to go through the game the fastest, all that stuff. there's things that you can tweak and perfect. That in the long run, yeah, you probably sink in a couple extra hours, but it's not a replay of like a JRPG, which could be an additional 30 hours.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, with the as of right now, I would love to get my hands on the Mass Effect Legendary remaster. I don't know if I'd actually play it, if I have the time to do so. But the other thing is, another game that has been popping up a lot is, I guess the past year or so, is the Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning, which of course is now called the Re-Reckoning. Because it was a re-release. The studio that first came out with or developed the game is now defunct because Kurt Schilling is not a very good businessman. But I will admit that I'm enough removed away from the game that I might actually want to just take a peek to see if there is any notable difference. Because when I played Kingdom of Amalur, it was Xbox 360. I think it was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. So I might be willing just to take a peek. I don't know if I'd be willing to sink in like a huge chunk of time, but if I jump in and it grabs me, then yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've read, it's a fun, basically action RPG.
Yeah.
Is really what it comes down to.
Yep. All right, so bit of other news, and for those out there who remember or are very passionate about movie or video games to movie crossovers or all that fun jazz, you may have noticed that there is yet another Mortal Kombat coming.
Mortal Kombat. Yes.
And the plot has been revealed. So I just want to take a second and read the plot to you. To me, Mortal Kombat is a very fascinating movie, in most part, a very fascinating movie franchise, simply because they actually attempt to keep close to the source material. It's a fighting game. There is a little bit of story here and there. There's not a whole lot, but it's a fighting game. And at least the first two movies, it's centered around the fighting and, trying to go through a tournament to save the world. So here is the plot for the upcoming new Mortal Kombat. In Mortal Kombat, MMA fighter Cole Young, accustomed to taking a beating for money, is unaware of his heritage, or why Outworld's Emperor Shang Tsung has sent his best warrior, Sub-Zero, an otherworldly cryomancer, to hunt Cole down. Fearing for his family's safety, Cole goes in search of Sonya Blade at the direction of Jax, a Special Forces major who bears the same strange dragon marking Cole was born with. Soon he finds himself at the temple of Lord Raiden, an elder god and the protector of Earthrealm, who grants sanctuary to those who bear the mark. Here, Cole trains with experienced warriors Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and rogue mercenary Kano, as he prepares to stand with Earth's greatest champions against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. But will Cole be pushed hard enough to unlock his arcana, the immense power from within his soul, in time to save not only his family, but to stop Outworld once and for all? I mean,
if you stop him once and for all, how do you have a sequel, man?
Okay, so in the first one, it's like Outworld won so many in a row, and if they won 10 in a row, then Earth was up for grabs or something like that.
Yeah, it's like they had to stop the streak, and that was pretty much the extent of Mortal Kombat 1.
Well, the thing is, I think that
it was straightforward, man.
No, I know, but this plot line's basically pretty straightforward. Yeah, can we stop Outworld once and for all? Probably not. Can they delay Outworld? Yeah, they probably could.
I mean, thankfully it doesn't, granted the movie's not out, but it doesn't sound like a terribly convoluted, it's actually now a action spy thriller where Raiden is actually now the god of Earth and rock, and he's changed forms, and now you have to crawl, it's not like some random convoluted plot, like a lot of movies happen. Just straightforward karate / action flick, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And I do find it interesting that instead of being like a martial artist, they made it a point to say MMA. You know,
Oh,
to keep it with
eh,
the times. And I do
yeah,
like the,
that is.
there was some name drop in there. I mean, you've got Shang Tsung, you have Sub-Zero, you
Oh yeah.
have Sonya Blade, Jax, Raiden, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and Kano. But to me, Kano is always like a bad guy. I don't know. Like
Now
I
who's
felt
like
like
the
he was,
evil mercenary?
but he's on the good side this time.
Oh,
It's weird.
I guess.
Anyways, for people for those interested or curious, the film is set to release nationwide in the U.S. April 16th, 2021, in theaters, and 31 days after it's released into theaters, it will be available on HBO Max. Yay!
Yay!
I'm to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not going to. I don't know if I will immediately run. I probably won't immediately run out to the movie. First of all, I won't be going to a theater, but it's not the. I'm not going to be like day one of HBO Max, which I don't have at this moment. But if I had HBO Max, I don't think I'd be like, oh my god, I have to watch it. But I'm not going to say that I won't. If it comes across my path, I'll be like, yes, I will watch this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a movie that I'm not going to pay extra to see it, but at some point I'll see it. Now,
Okay.
if I were still going to the theaters with my dad, like we used to do,
Mhm.
it would honestly be on my radar to go watch with him. It
Oh
just
yeah,
sounds like it's a good popcorn with a drink flick. So yeah, no, I'll watch it.
agreed. I mean, yeah, and and to be honest with you, one of the reasons why I would want to watch this is simply to see if they kept the theme song.
That's all I care about, honestly.
If there's no theme song, screw it. I'm just stop the movie.
That might
Stop
change
the movie. I'm
everything.
walking out.
It's now a dubstep version with some country twang.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Really get you going.
Mm.
Mm.
So there was some news that came out this week about there's a graphic novel series called The Order. No, sorry, The Old Guard. The Old Guard is a graphic novel and then was made into a Netflix movie starring Charlize Theron,
Which I
and
really
now,
enjoyed.
huh?
Which I really enjoyed.
Oh, it's great. And now it's been announced that there is going to be additional a limited run set graphic novels to continue or maybe expand upon The Old Guard, which I am totally for. Huge supporter of it. I've read the graphic novel before I even knew about the Netflix thing, and then as soon as I saw it on Netflix, like, no, is it what I think it is? And then when I started watching, like, oh shit, this is yes, I'm in. So
it really was.
The question that was asked what established franchises would you like to see, prequels or sequels, even if it's in a different medium? So, for example, most people probably saw The Old Guard on Netflix, and now, of course, they're going to expand the universe in graphic novel format. Now, I don't think Netflix can be completely ruled out of saying we might take that material and make another one, but I'm just saying, what established franchises would you want to see that? You may
interesting question.
There of course another series that comes to mind is Game of Thrones is having that spinoff. Was it House of Dragons? So it's still within that realm, but it's an expansion of it. Now, of course, if
she said she doesn't want to do it, but I'd love to see the adventures of Arya Stark.
Yes, it would be very interesting to get basically a really in-depth look of what happened to her when she left Westeros, and all the crazy adventures she could go on. Because that's one of those sections where you could really expand upon it. And there's a lot of series where there are specific parts that you could expand on.
Wait, I've got it.
Yeah,
Arya is really the before life of Xena.
But could she make that? Could she master throwing? I can never remember what Xena's weapon is.
The shuriken
Yeah, that's
or
it.
whatever it is. Yes, I mean Arya. She's the one-eyed whatever that guild was. I imagine she could do it. I think she's Xena. That's my new canon in my mind.
All right. All right. Now, okay, so I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why. But speaking of, keeping things in canon, I was doing some research about fan fiction
Oh dear.
because that's one of the ways that we.
Did you read Twilight fan fiction?
No, 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 no. I was actually very curious to see like the legal side of things. What's legal for fan fiction, and then of course I went on a great legal journey today, where
Oh
I read
dear.
about fan art and fan tributes and fan fiction and the rules and regulations about it. And I do find it interesting that there are definitely specific series, be it book, be it movie, be it video game, that the creators actually encourage fan fiction to help, fill things out. If for individuals like Zealeus, who were huge fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Oh yes.
once that TV series went off air, Joss Whedon actually came out and said, the best thing you could do is go find some fanfic, and during our normal TV slot, just read some fanfic about Buffy. It's going to be worth your time. Now, of course, there are those authors out there who will, or I guess IP owners out there who don't want anyone to touch their stuff, or they have very, very strict rules. One that makes absolutely total sense is the fact that J.K. Rowling is pretty okay with almost everything until it revolves around sexual content and the characters.
Yeah.
Because that's a little bit outside of the scope of the series. Now, that being said, I mean, that's the same guidelines that a company like Capcom is doing when it comes to your commentary and your depiction of their products. They want to keep it within basically that age range of the main consumer.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly not going to okay it in any way. I think. I mean, I'm assuming at least there's a lot of sexual Harry Potter stuff.
Oh, absolutely. But
and as long as it's not, what's that?
It's buried like deep, deep, deep in the web. Yeah, if you want to look for it, you could find it. But on some of these, like, there's basically websites that are hubs for fan fiction, basically just like hosting sites for fan fiction. I think it's like fanfiction.net or something. It's one of the big ones. You're not going to find it there. I mean, you'll have to do a deep dive, and even then, the power of an IP owner is such that they could do takedowns not only for the website but also on search engines. They could actually force Google to basically de-index all references to your fan fiction, or serve you a cease and desist, or which apparently, if shit starts really going crazy, it's like a bare minimum of $750 fine, but it could get much, much worse. So be careful, but have fun. But the interesting thing is, so I know I've gone off the question. I apologize to the person who submitted this question, but I do find it's such an interesting landscape of what you can and cannot do when it comes to fan creation, fan depiction. We talked about it off and on constantly, about fan art at conventions, about individual, fans coming together to create, works of art or movies or books, or having charity events. Nintendo, of course, is notorious for going after like fan events that they don't sanction, There was that charity event that I think it was they were trying to sell like custom skins for the Joy-Cons for the Switch, and they got a cease and desist, and they wanted to do. Then there was also that tournament where they had to use like a third party piece of software to allow for LAN play, not LAN play, allowed for online play because of COVID, so they continue to have their tournaments and stuff, and of course that's a big no-no. So it was very interesting. I lost myself in all of the legalese and what you can and cannot do, and how much power the IP holders have, and how most takedowns you don't need a reason. They don't have to give you one, and you may never find out who was, I guess, in charge of issuing that takedown.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, none of these websites even have the power to challenge the takedowns if they wanted to.
Oh, absolutely.
There's nothing you're going to do about it.
Right. I mean, that's the way the law is structured right now. As soon as the funny and the most unfortunate thing is that you don't really need to have proof. You can order a takedown, and there's a very good chance that an individual, a content creator like myself or Zealeus or anyone out there, may get hit with a takedown. Sometimes you are informed that your content's been taken down. Most times you're not, and you'll just wake up one day and look at your stuff and go, wait, where the hell did this go? And it's because of takedown. Once again, you don't have to be notified. There doesn't have to be a reason. And oh, by the way, we are in such a weird ass world that if someone goes, hey, Google, you got to take this off. That's my stuff. They don't even have to prove that. Apparently, it's quite the practice for rival companies to go after each other and has offered and issue takedowns to try to jockey for better indexing on search engines.
That's actually really funny, to be honest.
It is, and you would, but it's also like really scary that's the extent and I guess the super abusive way of using the power. But still, I mean,
I think that's smart.
No, absolutely, yeah. As as a capitalist,
I will fight you to the death.
He's like, I want any advantage and all advantages that you can offer me. Of course, the big question, the gray area, I bounced around to like 5-6 different websites, so I can't tell you exactly where I got all this information. And I'm paraphrasing some of it.
From everywhere.
But it's from everywhere. But there are a lot of people out there that were like, with what are the myths of, well, if I do a sound bite that's only 6 seconds long, I'm safe. No, you're not. That's an urban legend. That's bullshit. It's actually one of the websites I said is that one website that I visited actually stated in there is, if you are looking for loopholes, then what you're about to do is illegal, and just save yourself some trouble. Don't even try to do it.
Yep, it's not going to work. Too bad.
Of course, I was like, okay, well, what about, like, of course, fan fiction, fan art, all that stuff, and it all goes down to fair use. And if you want more information on fair use, just Google it. It is very vague in some shape or form. And if you want to know an individual who truly has mastered the art of fair use, then look no further than the musician, the very famous, very talented Weird Al Yankovic. He has that shit down on lock.
He's also in a whole different class because he's also making a profit off of what he's doing versus us lowly plebs who are just trying to do it for fun. He's in a whole different ballgame.
The thing is, if he didn't do it right, he'd still be, well, he wouldn't be who he is. But basically, he makes the song his own. It's a parody. It's
a parody. That's the key.
Right. It's a parody, but it's not, unfortunately, a lot of people think, oh, if I sing this song with like a weird voice, like a monotone voice. Then I make it my own. That's not how it works. Weird Al rewrites all the lyrics and just keeps the beats, and tries to keep the 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 inflections and all that stuff there, but change the words.
Well, even though he's not obliged to, he still usually asks for permissions just as a courtesy.
And that's actually one of the things that if you want to make some sort of fan fiction or fan art or whatever, and this doesn't happen often, but if you ask and you have written consent, you can do it.
Well, that's a whole different, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, that means you actually have to ask, and you actually have to put in the legwork. And yes, I do understand. There's a lot of groups of individuals who love, let's say, Halo. They want to do a Halo tournament, and then word gets out somehow to Microsoft that there's what they consider an unsanctioned Halo tournament. They could shut them down. That's because they're the IP owner. They can basically, cease and desist you. Even if you have the best intention in heart, because you're basically showing off, it might even be a free tournament, but you are showcasing an intellectual property that is not yours, and it's not sanctioned by the IP holder for you to do so.
See, that I think is total BS. That they can close down tournaments, particularly if you're not modifying the game in any way, and if you're just playing it. I don't think they should be able to shut that down.
True, but at the same time, I do understand it I do understand the desired. Most of the times, it's absolutely asinine. It's stupid. Just I don't know why you would go after people, but the problem is, if you don't, every single time there's someone is going to take that example of them not doing something, and they're going to try to run with it, and that's where they damage the brand. And that's the asshole way of doing things, especially in the U.S., which is why we have all those warning labels on stuff, because there are people who literally like, well, it doesn't explicitly say not to do this. It sucks. I mean, I love seeing grassroots created tournaments, or a bunch of individuals getting together, say in the city of Atlanta, and creating an hour and 48 minute movie, which they recorded over 2 years at different locations in Atlanta, and the entire backstory and theme have to do with a very famous Nintendo franchise called Zelda. And then they basically got the hammer dropped on them. Well,
Nintendo. You say Nintendo product anything, and it's going to be the hammer.
Well, absolutely, and it. I think the problem is, as fans, we want to see companies support creations with good intentions, but from the IP owner side, it's
there are no good intentions.
You have exactly. There can't be any, because if they take that stand, there's a very good chance that someone is going to abuse that.
Well, they're stupid.
And of course, as we already know, but we turn a blind eye to, when you go to if you go to a convention and someone gives you their interpretation of any licensed character, it's illegal. They can't make money off of it. By doing so, they're breaking the law. Blah, 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 blah. But people are still going to do it because companies aren't going to be able to go to every single convention or every single website or every single wherever the hell else, street corner, if you're selling stuff, Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's where you see all the fun fanfic is at the conventions, or Saw, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I need conventions so bad. Okay, so getting back onto topic slightly.
Following up, weren't we on a topic? I'm very confused.
We were, but I need to get back to the list of topics that were asked of me. Okay, here's a question first. Is it possible for a new title that comes out to not have issues on launch day? Is that is it like a prerequisite now that every big name title upon launch is going to basically screw the pooch?
Okay, I think of this as a begging the question type of question because the obvious answer is yes, it's possible, but no, it's not happening.
No, is it possible not to see this happen? Is what I'm saying.
Um, if what is launch?
Right. Ugh. Okay.
I mean, look at. I mean, I think of a game, for instance, like Hades. Actually, didn't have bugs on the. Well, I'm sure there's. You could probably find one, obviously, but it didn't have any game-breaking bugs when it launched, like on the Switch, for instance. But it was also in early access on. I
Steam.
know at least the PC for quite some time.
Well, actually, it was Epic Store. It was it the Epic? Yeah, Epic Store and then Steam.
So we've also, I think when we think of releasing a game, we're thinking in this context of going back to the original Mario Brothers. It came out on a console and boom, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
That model does not exist anymore. No. There's a game I love on the PC called Banished, and it's a city builder, and the developer hasn't updated the game in years. And I'm on the subreddit for it, and every once in a while, somebody will ask, like, where's the developer? Like, we haven't seen them update the game in years. Mm-hmm. And it's always a response of, like, that was the norm. Like, years ago, you didn't update a game. It wasn't like this random continuous update cycle.
Yep.
But now, if you have a video game and it's not like Banished 2 is out, it's like there's this expectation where the original is continuously getting some kind of update or patch fix or hot fix or something going on. And it's both, I mean, it's symbiotic because on one hand, the developers kind of created this cycle.
Right.
In the forms of day one DLCs, season passes, and let's be honest, broken games when they come out. And now the gamers, because of that, we now have a different set of expectations for the games, where when a game comes out, we don't expect it to be the same game 6 months from now. There's going to be patches and fixes and other things that come out.
True.
I think this, I mean, given the current cycle, it's on the more extreme side, but look at Cyberpunk 2077. We knew when the game came out that there were going to be patches and all that stuff. I didn't think we hoped at least was going to be to the extent it's going to need to be to fix the game.
Right.
But at the same time, you see that more and more than we ever did when we were playing video games back in the day, where you come out with games that are broken when they're released, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sucks. But yes, that is the norm now. I think if anything, you might have a better chance of a finished game coming out from a indie developer.
Oh, they have to. They don't.
Yeah, that's going to be different. They're going to come out with it. Yeah. Versus a AAA publisher like a Project Key, they're going to be able to, well, if they don't get sued to death, I guess, by everybody at this point.
Well, they got a second massive lawsuit, I heard.
Yeah. But they'll continue to update the game.
Right.
So, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that's the business cycle of video games that we live in.
Right.
And I don't see that going away anytime soon.
So the reason why the topic that was presented to me was after just recently experiencing the Cyberpunk 2077 letdown, of course, me personally having the wonderful issue of not being able to fully install the game, only to find out that it was a bonus PDF that was in Polish as the reason why I couldn't install the game, because it was read only and not write. Read and write.
Maybe they're trying to tell you to learn Polish.
No. There is another game that just came out that is having serious issues on launch. It's an interesting twist, though. Okay, so for those out there who have played the Hitman series, they basically did a restart of the story arc, which I guess the restart was in 2016.
Okay.
And so this is Hitman number 3. And what's different about this trilogy of Hitman games is that, just like Mass Effect, the save file can continue over each iteration. The
Mm.
problem that's reared its ugly head is that players have been running into severe server issues when it comes to trying to get the save games to translate over to the third iteration. So basically, in order to continue progress from the first two games, players could carry over data within the same platform family, which I think is, as expected, by syncing progress from Hitman 2. And here's the thing that makes me go, oh God, how did they think this was ever going to work? Via an IOI profile website.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to take your save file and basically import it into this, website, and then, you'd have full access to continue the story that you've been building. How did they not see that as being an issue?
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, probably.
The famous last words. Now, of course, there is some other functionality that you could use through that website, like accessing levels from previous games, which actually might be really cool. But that being said, the save game file, I don't know how it's a highly anticipated title. You're telling everyone that you're going to have to take your old save file, import it to this website, which I guess you're going to have to be having accounts so you could play, kind of like a Riot Games or Steam or whatever, or Battle.net. Is it still called Battle.net? I can't even remember. I think it is.
According to my doc, it is Blizzard Battle.net.
Fine.
Remember
Blizzard.
They talked about changing it at one time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Blizzard has a bunch of crazy ideas, and sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't.
And everybody was like, huh?
Yeah. But you with a highly anticipated title, there was going to be hiccups. And of course, this is a potential hiccup. Now, of course, for those out there who wanted just to play a Hitman 3 by itself, they immediately were able to play the game because they didn't have to dick around with the save file. So, it basically it basically kicked all of the longtime fans in the nuts. And for any of the newcomers, come on in.
Speaking of server snafus, did you see the latest EVE news?
No.
So basically, over the last week, there's been the new largest battle in the history of EVE.
Oh boy.
The problem so basically you have I don't know what their names are, but you have the current biggest alliance, who has had their fortified position, and basically you had or whatever the guilds in EVE are called. And then on the other side, you basically, thank you. So you had it was a single corporation, I think, or alliance of corporations. We had another group of corporations who want to take down the big bad corporation, right? And so they attacked them. And basically the attack was double the size that had ever been seen. And the servers just crashed and burned, basically. But what ended up happening, which is kind of fascinating, so you got the dreadnoughts, where the really expensive ships, is basically they're at a stalemate for logging out. Because basically, if you're logged in, your ships are somehow hidden because the server crashed. But as soon as you log out and log back in, they populate. But because they're kind of stalemated, as long as nobody's logging out, they're not reappearing to then get annihilated. So it's this giant stalemate. And basically, the entrenched alliance, even though they had a smaller force than the larger one, is fine because they're in their entrenched space. But basically, the larger alliance, when it all crashed, broke into a lot different armies instead of one big army like they planned, and all just went to hell in a handbasket. But the interesting part as a developer is one of their issues is EVE is 15 years old or so?
I think
when it was developed for single core processors only. And guess what their software still cannot do?
Quad?
It's still their server software still cannot multi-thread.
It is 17 years old.
Is it really? Damn.
It was released May 6, 2003.
Jeez. Yeah, so their code infrastructure is unable to usually basically take advantage of multi-threading, which obviously is problematic as far as scaling goes.
Yes, yes. And to be honest with you, the thing about Eve, the very interesting thing about Eve, in comparison to most MMOs out there, is that most MMOs they have different servers.
Yep.
Eve has always been a single shard. Everybody on one main existence, basically. Every single player is in that world. Of course, if you looked at the size of Eve, you would understand that that's probably pretty possible because you're never going to see that many ships or players in one space. But of course, apparently, the the algorithm was tested and it failed.
But it is interesting though, because I mean, obviously players are not happy that this happened,
Right.
but at the same time, Eve's because I mean, this is also for players. I mean, talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment too.
Yep.
But apparently, like the players aren't also particularly upset because Eve is also not like reimburse it. Like some companies would like reimburse and try to fix stuff.
Right.
Eve is like, or it's actually CCP. It's like, nope, sucks to be you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also been their policy from day one. Like anytime there's been an issue, CCP is like, it's the wild, wild west. I think that's been key to not also pissing off their user base.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's no appearance of impropriety or favorites. Because, like, say they did reimburse those ships for that attacking alliance, then obviously the one who's defending would be super pissed off. Like,
Yep.
wait, what about us?
Yep.
But because CCP is like, hey, you guys know what you guys are getting yourselves into? Good freaking luck. It's pretty hard to be terribly upset, which I think is smart on their part, not to basically have any hint of favoritism, especially in a political game like that.
Oh, I mean, Eve. My experience with Eve is basically it's the MMO you play while doing something else. When I played Eve a couple times.
You got into it a little bit, didn't you, at one time?
Yeah, but I ended up just being like a miner. I'm not. All I did was I just went to asteroids. I got the materials. I went back. I sold them. Yeah, I went on a couple quests here and there. Did I attack a couple of CPU enemies? Sure. And
whoa. Living on the edge
very
there.
high, secure locations. I wasn't going into the Wild Wild West.
The nullsec.
But I do. If you are able to, there is this extra level within Eve that is absolutely bonkers, but beyond impressive. One, you got these humongous alliances, and the interesting thing about these alliances is when you have an alliance, you have the ability to like amass all members of the corporation's wealth into one spot. And there have been several very interesting and famous, all you got to do is Google Eve Online, basically corporation bank heists. And they're individuals who have sabotaged corporations, stole all of the corporation's assets, and then given it out to, everybody. And that's a huge ass deal. You got people who are part of like over 2,000 player corporation, and they take everything because they've risen up the ranks of within that corporation, so they can position themselves to steal everything. It's like a movie story in those respects. But yeah, I personally could never have or will never have enough time to actually truly sink into Eve Online and find the magic that thousands of players are able to find.
Now it's a very fascinating game. Like, I have no desire to play it. I tried it. I played it. I'm like, this is not for me, but for me, sociological and all that stuff part, it's super fascinating to read about.
Agreed.
From that perspective. And I mean, it's one of those games where there's going to be I already know there have been like studies and papers and dissertations about this game because it's basically like political intrigue and playing out in real time, really.
Yeah, it is, and it truly is a world upon itself, where you have individuals, corporations that act in a communist fashion, or a democracy, or a monarchy. A monarchy.
Yep.
There's totalitarian, a dictatorship. I mean, you get them all if if you're willing to really deep dive into it. But yeah, interesting. Yeah. So right now we're going to do, and cross your fingers because it's the first time we're going to do this. We're going to do friends of the show real quick. Hopefully this works. I did pre-recordings for all of them, and if it doesn't work, I apologize. And next week I'll go back to just reading off the script. But ladies and gentlemen,
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, I do want to take a little bit of time out to give a shout out to all the friends of the show. Here we go. The Indie Cluster is an organization of independent game developers that want to gain exposure by being involved in the community. They collectively journey to popular conferences as a traveling booth to help gain attention for their games. They make partnerships in local communities to bring games to the mainstream mindset. They highlight local, unusual, and rare concepts to challenge the paradigm of the common. They also host events to teach kids and minority groups about game development to hopefully one day enter the industry themselves. For more information, go to http:/indiecluster.com. Hero Chiropractic is a unique healthcare practice set up by Ryan Moore, the company's focus to elevate a patient's experience of freedom, creative expression, and joy. They believe that everyone can be a hero and has incredible heroic potential inside themselves waiting to be unleashed. Hero Chiropractic focuses on mobile chiropractic care in the greater Atlanta area. They are committed to healing clients by creating a plan of action uniquely suited for each person. They make that plan of action as convenient and affordable as possible, and most importantly, suited to your individual needs. For more information, go to www.herochiropractic.com. Nurburgergames is the game design imprint of award-winning RPG designer Craig Campbell. Craig has done a whole bunch of RPG design freelancing in the past. Several years ago, he dove into designing his own RPG. Now, Nurburgergames has multiple RPGs and is showing no signs of stopping. Nurburgergames endeavors to create games that explore corners of the RPG landscape that haven't been explored, or haven't been explored very often. These games forego dense gaming mechanics in favor of a lighter rule set that allow players to focus on telling fun, engaging, memorable stories. After yet another successful Kickstarter, their library has increased in size. Currently, the games that at least Zealeus and I have played are Capers, Die Laughing, Merzen Acquisitions, and of course, the soon-to-be-played Good Strong Hands. For more information, go to www.nurburgergames.com. Okay, so hopefully that worked. On retrospect, I should have probably just made one big video instead of making 3 individual ones where I had to hit start between all of them. But whatever.
So many starts, sir.
I do want to do one quick thing, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, Alter Confusion is once again partaking in Extra Life for the 10th straight year. Extra Life is gamers doing what they do best, gaming, to help sick, injured children at their chosen Children's Miracle Network hospital. The one that we have been supporting for the past 10 years is Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. All the money we raise through Extra Life goes directly to that hospital as unrestricted funds. This means that the hospital decides where and how to spend the money to ensure the dollars you raise make the biggest impact in the lives of the kids they treat. If you have the capacity to donate, please do so. All you got to do is go to extra-life.org. I believe Zealeus has put my participation number in, which is 450-208. If you look for Alter Confusion, I don't think I have the team page set up correctly. So I apologize, and I know that I've been meaning to do that, and I will. I promise.
It looks like it's set up.
The Alter Confusion one?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right,
I mean, I
ladies.
see it on there. Goal of $250 for next year.
Mm-hmm. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ultra Confusion has a Patreon. Patreon is what helps us survive on the love and support of fans like you. And so, what we're asking for you to do is to become active participants in the work we love through a monthly membership. This membership gives you access to exclusive content, community, and insight into our creative process. In exchange, we gain a bit more freedom to do our best work and the stability we need to build an even stronger creative career. Currently, we have a $1 and a $5 option. $1 would be $12 a year, and of course, the $5 would be $60 a year, which, even in these crazy ass times, I personally feel that at least the $12 a year would be something that's attainable for most people. And you don't know how much just that dollar a month means to Alter Confusion to help pay for hosting fees and, updating equipment, be it the new ring light that we're using or I'm using for the camera, or new software to help render the videos or the podcast. So it means the world, and I hope that, if you can, please become a patron at the $1 level. If you go at the $5 level, you get to be part of the Friends of the Show. There are a couple other ways to become friends of the show, but I'm not going to reveal them to you. No, really.
You're not going to reveal them to me? How dare you?
Not Zealeus. I'll tell you guys later, but Zealeus is here.
Am I?
Yes, you are. Ladies and gentlemen, also, if you wanted to send something physical to Alter Confusion, all you got to do is go to you have to send your stuff, your physical stuff, be a t-shirt, coffee mug, whatever, to 1551 Dunwoody Village. That's DUNWOODY, Village Parkway, number, and this is super duper important, number 88276. That is the P.O. Box number. If you don't put that there, it goes to the post office proper, and it will be returned to you within 3 to 5 business days.
Dear.
The city, of course, is Dunwoody, DUNWOODY, Georgia 30338. Now, I have received a package, and I have the package, but I haven't gotten. But here's the funny thing: I haven't gotten all of them from the post office. But I have a package. It's right here. I'm not going to open it right now. I'm going to make a video about it, but I know what it is.
Yes, I'm excited. You can't just leave us hanging like that, sir.
Something tells me that these are Funko Pops.
Whoa. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Now, of course, if you want to know what's in the box, you'll have to tune into the unboxing video that I am going to be doing in the next couple days. But I have I think I know what they are, but I could be wrong. Hopefully, I'm right, though. That would make me super duper excited. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I believe Zealeus had a topic that he wanted to add to the show. So Zealeus.
Yes, so mine is more of I don't really necessarily have a question, but more of an annoyance.
Okay.
So I started playing, and maybe it's a question of, are there certain things in games that kind of turn you off, and you're just like, really? This is just anti-gamer? So let me explain. So playing Nier Automata, and one of the things is, so like a lot of games, you could do multiple playthroughs, yippity skippity.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of thinking earlier too about our replaying of Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things in this game is there's these chests in the games, and usually you have to search for them. The catch is you cannot open these chests until your second playthrough of the game, when basically you're unlocking a different playable character. And I'm just like, this is BS. Because I'm playing the game now, and I'm probably honestly not going to play it again. And two, it almost discourages me from exploring, because most of these chests, they're hid out of the way. You have to jump up and do things to find them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, why am I even going out of my way to find these if I can't even open them? It's just to me, it's just a really cheap way to try to get you to play another playthrough of the game.
But here's my question: is there a mini map?
Yeah.
When you find those treasure chests, do they get added to the minimap?
No.
So what they're asking you to do is, if you go explore, you're going to find these treasure chests. You're then going to have to either take a screenshot or a recording of where the hell you went to find that treasure chest, and then play it again to navigate your ass all the way back to that treasure chest that you might have found in like the second hour of like a 40-hour playthrough, so that you could gain that extra item. That, my friends, definitely. The sad reality is that's not a unique thing. I can't remember the game off the top of my head, but there are games that I've played a couple that unfortunately follow that as well. But they are more like in main areas. You don't really, you'll be in like a town and you go down to like a back alley, which I guess is still hidden. But it's not like, you trekked out 30 miles into the woods behind the rock that looks like a bear's ass. There's a treasure chest. You're in a main city and you go down an alleyway and all of a sudden you see the red treasure chest, which you do not have the correct prerequisites for the treasure chest. And it turns out that the prerequisite is that you have to do a new game plus.
Oh, yeah. That's not cool to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of now, like multiple endings or different endings, things like that. That I'm totally cool with. Different playable characters, okay, whatever. But like to be like in your face, like, haha, here's a treasure chest you can't get. I'm like, you mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would think, and I would like your opinion on this as well. What if you were able to, let's say that you find these treasure chests that you're unable to unlock, but there's a character that you'll gain through the game in which if you were to swing back through, which of course, like, let's say it's like an open world or maybe you're backtracking, when you have that character, you could then unlock it. So you don't have to restart all over again in order to open the chest.
That to me is different. That I'm okay with. Also, most likely, because games I've seen that do that way, usually then the treasure chest scales with your level, or they know like you'll be back to the zone again with this character when you're level 40 versus level 5 when you first found it.
Right.
So usually that case I'm okay with because it's that playthrough. I mean, my entire life, there's one game I played through twice, and that's Jade Empire.
Is there a game that I've ever played through twice?
2 completions also the key part there. Yeah. I think it's like the only game. Now that's a game I would love to have a remake of. Good gosh. That is such a great game.
I'm trying to think. Have I ever truly done a second play? I'm like an RPG, something that has depth. Yes, I've played, Super Mario Brothers to completion a couple times. Yes, I've played, Mega Man 3 and 4 to completion a couple times. But, when you're talking about, like a Jade Empire or, I played Diablo a couple times all the way through. The original.
Yeah. That's where we start splitting hairs, right? Because technically you did replay it again, but Diablo's a very different replayability of game versus like a well, I don't know if you consider Jade Empire JRPG, but a actual RPG like that is a very different playthrough versus a
hack and slash
Diablo. Yeah.
Well, I think also, another thing that you would have to take into consideration is Diablo. There is some randomness to it. Yes, we know that at specific dungeon levels you're going to face off against a boss, but what the dungeons look like is randomized. It's not
really
like
Diablo. You're playing to play those higher level characters to get the higher level loot. It's a very different type of loot grind.
Yeah, it's not like a very story driven game where you're truly reliving every dialogue option. That's the other thing is that Diablo, yes, it had its dialogue. Stay a while and listen. Which of course is my favorite. But with some of these, you're talking about hours of dialogue that you'll just have to re-listen. You're like, yes, I know there's something terrible happening. I know the world's in crisis. I know the mayor's daughter has been kidnapped. I know there's some magic, you know, slime oozing out of the ground that could hold the cure. And
Not only
here,
that, but side quest.
oh God, yeah.
Like, I mean, Diablo. I mean, I don't even know if you call those side quests, but like, you're playing
It's
a big.
still, yeah.
It's still part of the. But you're playing a big RPG, and you think like, wow, this replay, I have to do all these random quests. Which, do you ever find that when you're playing an RPG, particularly, usually you're like the hero, right?
Yep.
Like, you have some superpower.
Hmm.
It takes me out of the game sometimes with side quests in terms of like, congratulations, you just defeated the great big evil of the world. Now we go grab eat that chicken over there. I'm like,
The only
you
way,
don't go ask a Navy SEAL to like go bring the mail across the street for a fetch quest.
well, okay, I think when it comes to side quests, for me, it's all about timing. If I usually focus in on um, the side quest when I feel like there's a lull. You know, if I'm in the throes of the main storyline, then I'm not gonna. If someone goes, "I've got a quest for you," I'll be like, "Nah, I'll keep going." But if I'm,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things with most open world RPGs is that there are gonna be those times where you're either gonna be way under leveled or you're just like, "Oh God, I cannot take the storyline right now. I'm getting so pissed at this character that you want something, a fluff piece added in there." And I, of
I can,
course, am always trying to grind so that when I do get to those, difficult times, I could just like one hit or five hit something, uh, or really cause any massive amounts of damage. Cyberpunk 2077, which is why I put over 100 hours, is I basically tried to do most of the side quests so that when I did the main story missions, literally like, oh, this guy's gonna be strong. You gotta be careful. I'm like, bang, 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 dead. Okay, now moving on. I feel awesome.
nice.
But going back to, I guess the basic question is there something? Is there like a mechanic or some piece in the game that's annoying enough for you to potentially throw a controller to a wall? My biggest issue, and this happened to me, I guess, in the past couple of months. There was a game I played called Greedfall. It looked like a cool game. It's some weird disease or sickness is taking over a lot of people, and everyone's going to the new world. Well, there's a trip to the new world to potentially find a cure, and it's set more like in like Renaissance times. But there was too many pieces to that game that just grated me the wrong way. One was the
Oh, I'm
the
that's isn't that supposed to be like a you can make your character whatever you want
yeah
type of game?
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like you could make your character however you want, but at the same time it won't be anything that you need. Um, they have these stupid factions where like you gotta dress up like this person in order to go in this faction's area, but chances are they're still gonna figure it out somehow. So why the fuck would you want to buy? Why do you want to move around? Okay, so here's one of the things that pissed me off. Okay, so I have let's just say any RPG, you've got your main set of armor.
Yep.
They protect you. They're good. But in this game, there were specific areas where you had to change your clothing in order to fit in. But chances were it wasn't going to work. So what this game was making you do is, let's say that I'm just doing an arbitrary number. Your true armor is a rating of 50. The higher the better.
Sure.
And then the faction area armor is 2. And they discover you, and guess what? They one hit kill you because I don't know, just because that and very poor controls.
Yeah, that's annoying. Like a lot of RPGs are smart about that, where you have like a disguise, almost as like a costume, but you still have your regular armor on.
Yes, able to toggle the costume on and off.
Yeah, like that I like because it's like, don't break my, like I spend time leveling up this character, getting this armor. And I know like It breaks a little bit of immersion because I have this armor on. Whatever, I don't care. I still want to be
Yeah.
overpowered.
Yeah.
Kind of like you. So yeah, like things like that definitely are frustrating to me. I would agree.
I think it's just they are forcing you to do something that potentially can ruin your gaming experience. If you're doing that to me, I don't want to play your game.
Yeah. I remember watching some videos about Greedfall, and it seemed like almost like a hardcore Skyrim is kind of what it reminded me a little bit of.
Yes,
Which
I
did
could
not
see
appeal.
that, but poorly executed, like in all phases. The controls, the need to disguise yourself in faction areas, the crafting was just weird as hell. About the only thing that kind of was interesting was the story. But if I can't actually, navigate the game well enough and confidently enough, the story ain't going to save it. And it didn't. I actually asked for a refund.
Oh,
which I
did
don't
they
do.
give it to you?
I don't even if the game is absolute garbage, I will try my damnedest to get through enough to feel like I got my money's worth. Even if it's
Oh,
garbage.
I know. You've slogged your way through some games.
But this one I was like, refund. So yeah, that's yeah. I mean, that kind of gaming issue, or of course, game ending glitches.
Yeah.
If there is something that causes a game to basically blow up and never truly come back, no thank you. There's not a game out there that there's not a game out there that I'd be willing to sacrifice the experience I had to relive all the stuff that I've gone through to try to get around that one potentially bad part.
No, that would leave me so pissed off that I'd just be like, nope, I'm done. Yep. I agree.
Actually, there was a game, I can't remember, it was a PC game that my dad was really invested in. And it was basically the final dungeon. And if you accidentally did something right before the final dungeon, your save game was gone.
Oh, gosh.
And he was like, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to try again. And he actually got right back to that thing. And apparently, I don't know how the hell he did it, but did the exact same thing. Save game, gone. And he never played it again. But still, that kind of stuff, no.
Yep, no. That's pretty terrible. I mean, it's terrible, man.
There's a Switch game called, it was called Black Sad, which, no matter what I do, you're able to get back to the autosave at the beginning of this scene, and no matter the options or actions you took in this one scene, no matter if you did it in a different order, you chose different dialogue options, it crashed. It basically just got into an infinite loop on loading the next scene.
Oh, I had my first Switch crash yesterday. I can't remember what game it was. It was the first time it's happened to me. I was like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Anyways, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I believe we've reached the end of our show. So if you missed out on any of the topics, all you got to do is wait just a wee bit. In the next couple days, we will be releasing this video in both this show on either YouTube in video format or podcast, Podbean. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. For myself, Charlie, and Zealeus, it's been a pleasure giving you everything our heads, our mouths, and of course, our hearts. Will be back next Thursday for another Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout.
Remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.